This is your First Alert Weather Breakdown, a deep dive into how weather works with meteorologist Evan Thomason.
Alrighty, welcome into your Tuesday First Alert Weather Breakdown. I'm meteorologist Evan Thomason. You'll see me in just a moment. Just wanted to let you look at the beautiful blue skies and sunshine. Hopefully you aren't sick of it, so to speak. It's been with us now. Oh man, it's almost been 3 weeks, 3 entire weeks of nothing but dry conditions and sunshine. It's, yes, another beautiful day, but might get a little toasty in store for this afternoon, actually. That's all in front of a massive cold front that's actually going to be bringing us our coolest weather of the season. We'll talk about numbers in a moment. We'll get more into the nitty-gritty of that in just a little bit, because I know you're going to be intrigued, and you better be intrigued, because I'll probably be bringing out my sweatshirt game out, and maybe even a heavy coat. That might be necessary for those in a few areas, especially on the northern half of the Arklatex, when you find out how cold, I'm using the word cold and not cool, cold for Thursday morning. Just wait. Just you wait. That's not what I meant to do. Anyways, hello. I am First Alert Meteorologist Evan Thomason. Hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday so far. Again, plentiful sunshine. Who can complain, right? Well, there might be a little more to complain about. Temperatures, again, are on the rise here for this afternoon before we eventually cool down. And we're going to have some nice, pleasant afternoons for tomorrow through the rest of your work week, thankfully. And things get even better in terms of the sun, or in terms of continuing sunshine along with that, which would be great. But honestly, I'm kind of looking forward to a gloomy day, honestly. We haven't faced it in 3 weeks. The rain hasn't come in 3 weeks, and that's what's going to be behind our exclusive content for today, is actually looking into our drought. Thankfully, going into this little 3-week stretch of nothing but dry weather, it's almost been 3 weeks, just so you know, it's 2 weeks and 6 days ago, technically, because it happened 3 Wednesdays ago. That was our last measurable rainfall in the morning hours on that Wednesday. Just nearly 3 weeks ago. It will be 3 weeks tomorrow, if that makes sense. That'll put it into a better perspective here for you. Thankfully, before that, we've gotten plenty of rain, a plethora of rain. I remember when I first arrived here back in June and July, we were talking about how we had an abundance of rainfall, thankfully, from springtime, and also a little bit from summer as well, which has helped us out a good bit. Well, now where is it? Well, the surplus is coming into effect, especially during this whole dry stretch, and now it's being stretched out just maybe a little bit too much, in my opinion, personally. I've talked to some of my coworkers, and they've had to sprinkle a little more water on their lawns and use the sprinkler systems a little bit more. I will say that too as well, though. So we'll see. We're going to go into your drought forecast for our exclusive content here for today. So this is what we're talking about. Again, we're talking about sunshine. I was going to say a cooler forecast, because that's mainly what the hype is behind our local forecast here in the Arklatex. But I mean, to be fair, that'd be a little deceiving, because we still have to get through one more very warm afternoon, honestly, here for today, before the actual next big cool down happens and our next big supply of colder air happens tonight. And that'll cool things off a lot here for tomorrow. We'll get into all of that coming up in just a bit. We'll go basically day by day, almost hour by hour, with your temperature forecast. That'll be cool to look at, because that's what we have the time for in this podcast. So I hope you're excited, honestly. And then our exclusive content goes into the drought. We'll look at the drought monitor. We'll see how much rain we've gotten as well recently. And last of all, we'll look and see if we're expecting any rain anytime soon, too. Yeah, that'll be intriguing. All right, so let's get into our local forecast. This has been the sight to see for the last 3 weeks. Sunshine, blue skies. It kind of makes it for a bland forecast, honestly. A little bit, yeah. But that's why we're going to get into the nitty-gritty about the temperatures as well. So let's get straight into it. Here's what's happening big picture-wise. I love to explain these graphics, and honestly, this is what we do, especially in going into... I'll explain these briefly on air and say, it's cooling us down, it's warming us up. and that's exactly what's happening in our up-level pattern. Here for the middle of this week, we are cooling on down. But in this podcast, we're going to go into the nitty-gritty of why things are happening. Overall, our weather pattern is moving. It's actively moving finally. Unfortunately, this is not changing the rain too much. Rain's still at bay, especially with the high pressure, kind of suppressing any and all chances of us getting any chances or getting any bits of moisture or wet weather in our region for that matter, actually. But our atmosphere is moving, and that's allowing us to change the temperatures now quite a bit. So what is happening is we're getting the coldest air of the season. I'm calling it that here for tomorrow. Look at the wind. Look at the jet stream in particular formed between this high and this high off to our west and our low pressure system up to our northeast. We have winds that are basically going due north to due south. Just so you know, this morning, Arkansas had temperatures in the low 40s and upper 30s that we're waking up to. We're pulling in that kind of air into the Arklatex here for today or for tomorrow morning and for Thursday morning as well. We'll get into more of what we can see here locally in regards to temperatures here in just a little bit. But just to give you kind of the idea of how much of a cool down this is expected to be. Now, heading into the second half of the work week, things do change. We kind of flip the weather pattern. Again, as I mentioned, our weather pattern remains in motion. Things are moving, actually. High pressure system is going to be off to our east now, low pressure off to our west, and that provides the jet stream, which is now warming us up with above average temperatures, likely heading into next work week. It's going to start to happen mainly by Friday and this weekend, starting to warm us up a good bit, leading into temperatures that'll probably get back into the mid-80s, if maybe even upper 80s. We'll see. The good news is, if you remember last weekend with highs around, 99 in Shreveport. I believe, it was 98 in Shreveport last Sunday. Thankfully, I don't think I'm seeing that happening ever again for the rest of the year. Let's get that out of the way, which is good news. But yeah, warmer air is going to be returning back into the Arklatex here heading into this weekend with highs around average compared to highs below average when we actually have that cold burst of air coming in here for the middle of this week. All right, so let's put some numbers down. Let's get into it. What exactly are we expecting, Evan, rather than just saying it's cooler and then it's hotter? Well, here we go. All right, for today, temperatures still very toasty. Again, the cool down happens tonight, so we still have another warm day to get through. In fact, temperatures are warming up from yesterday's cool down. I mean, remember yesterday was much cooler than Sunday, highs down to the lower 80s. So we're warming things up a little bit, piling on just a little bit more warmer air in front of the next cool down that's coming through again tonight. So highs today, upper 80s here for most of us. 87 at Shreveport. There's even chances that we could reach lower 90s, especially in eastern Texas. 92 expected this afternoon in Nacogdoches. Meanwhile, 85 in Texarkana, 87 for Coshada. Then the cool down happens. All right, so let's get to the feels like temperature. So again, this afternoon, it'll be pretty toasty, actually. Temperatures in the 80s. Then the cool down hits, and look at tomorrow morning. 40s. And I know we've seen 40s before, but these kind of 40s are going to be widespread across the entire Arklatex for everybody to enjoy. I'm not expecting to see temperatures remain at 50 degrees or above the entire time for everybody. Then, heading into tomorrow afternoon, maybe the more impressive change is look at the highs for tomorrow afternoon. They're likely to get up to the upper 60s and lower 70s. That's pretty much your high temperature for tomorrow. 67 in Texarkana, 70 in Shreveport only. You'll be hanging around with most of the temperatures during the day in the 50s and 60s during the day. That's going to be impressive. Then, Thursday morning, we're cooling off a lot. Notice we're getting down to the 40s here through the overnight hours, and then by the early morning of tomorrow, maybe even some upper 30s creeping in. 39 potentially Texarkana, 39 for Marshall, 35 for DeQueen. Wow. 45 for Shreveport. Meanwhile, lower 40s in throughout most of the Arklatex. Get out the heavy coats, honestly. I might even call for that because usually 40 degrees and below is a step above the jacket, at least for me. So very impressive before starting to warm up the rest of the day on Thursday. Wow. Wow. I hope you're prepared. If you have any questions, let us know on YouTube. You still have that outlet to reach me with questions during this live stream. Pretty cool, am I right? Notice how I haven't talked about rain at all. This has been an entire forecast, again, all about temperatures. Guess where the rain is? Still not to be seen. Maybe a drop. We at least have a drop in our 7-day rainfall potential, but I'm still not seeing much in terms of rainfall coming, especially massively into the Arklatex. Now, this might be even more amazing for some of you. We're talking about cooler temperatures, our first main big cool down coming here into the Arklatex, and yet we're still dealing with tropics. It's October, and they are still active. 60% chance of something forming around the Caribbean Sea over the next 7 days. We also have another area of interest in the western edge of the Caribbean Sea that is a 30% chance of forming. And this is quite rare for this time of year, for these kind of storms becoming due west. If you've noticed, we've had a number of fish storms named, say, Kirk, Leslie, that have kind of gone out to sea already. They formed in the Atlantic, and then they've gone out to sea. That is not happening with this area of interest that has a 60% chance of forming. So we'll keep you first alert, and we'll let you know what we see, but that's a little bit of cause for unusual concern heading into next week. Thankfully, we do have time to see this through. 7-day forecast, 87 degrees today, down to 70 again here for tomorrow. Then the temperature's steadily rising after that. 77 by this Friday, 81 in time for the weekend. So, yeah, it'll be a little warmer and coming in for the weekend, yes, but still much, much better than last weekend. 83 then heading into next week, and we're having hints again that the little bit warmer than average temperatures will return here heading into next work week. Alrighty. So that's a look at your local forecast. Hope you're hyped up for the cooler temps like I am. I still got to get, again, I got to get the layers out of the closet. If you didn't wear layers out this morning with the lows in the 50s that we had out this morning, you're going to need it again for tomorrow and for Thursday morning. Please. You'll be thanking me. I mean, maybe you do want the cool rush to your legs, I guess, so to speak, without having just wear some pants and wear some sleeves rather than just wearing t-shirt and shorts. That's what I'm trying to get at, all right? Anyways, coming back, we'll look at our drought. Again, still no rain expected for the next 7 days. We'll see if we're expecting anything anytime soon, if we're seeing any hints of anything coming. We'll get into the specifics of that coming up next. Stick with us. And welcome back to KSLA News 12 First Weather Breakdown. Again, I'm meteorologist Evan Thompson. Thanks again for joining us today. All right, so all the hype's behind the cooler temperatures. Again, first time we're seeing upper 30s, lower 40s since I've been here. But I got here during the summer, along with this podcast, pretty much, which started back in early July. But our drought certainly cannot be ignored. I'm not even sure I'd call it a drought. We're starting to get a little more into a drought, but it's not extreme yet. And again, that's all thanks to the plethora of rain that we had before going into this little dry span of time for the past 3 weeks. Now, before the last 3 weeks, I will say our drought monitor was almost completely, just about completely blank. Completely blank. Filled with rain. It was rainy, spring, and again, we're still running rain totals actually above average, surprisingly. We'll get to that in just a moment as well. But let's bring out the drought monitor here for you in just a moment. So it's been nice to enjoy the sunshine, but I've even gotten coworkers saying, just a little tired of it. Maybe just one day of some rain will do us some good. And I completely agree with that based on these kind of conditions that you're seeing here on your drought monitor. All right, so what's happening across the Arc of Texas, we're starting to build a little more moderate drought. The entire region overall is under slight drought, which just means it's like a drought watch. You watch out for the conditions to drought to potentially worsen. What I will say is, let's look at some areas of more severe drought, which appears to be areas around Magnolia, maybe up into DeQueen, Idabel especially because it looks like they're having more extreme levels of drought over towards Oklahoma on the Red River, out westward, out towards the Oklahoma-Texas border and further up into Oklahoma as well. Something to watch out for around there, and that could potentially spread into the Arc of Texas, especially if this dry streak continues, which, keep in mind, we looked at that 7-day forecast. I mean, it's not just the fact that we have no rain expected. It's the fact that the rain chances are still zero, completely zero for the next 7 days. Yeah, I mean, we're not even getting any bits of moisture at all. Our humidity levels are way down there and expected to remain way down there for the next several days. I even used the phrase last week, we're stuck in the desert. Stuck in the desert. Temperatures are changing. That's fine, but just need the rain back. Need the rain back, honestly. So, yeah. This is what your drought monitor looks like. A lot more moderate drought is spreading across the Arc of Texas. I'd say about 75% of the region. A lot more under moderate drought. The only areas that are probably seeing less drought are out towards northwest Louisiana, in towards the central part of the state, near Alexandria as well. But overall, we're mostly in this together here for us. So it's a little surprising, honestly, as well, because rainfall we've had since January 1st is still a surplus, more than average. And when I talked about this, I haven't talked about this in quite some time. I don't think I've ever talked about this actually on the podcast, but when we've discussed this in shows, Matt even brought this up when I was training under him in June when I first arrived here, and I talked about this in July too. We were talking about rainfall totals that were nearly double what we were originally seeing. And now that we've gone on the whole dry streak, obviously it's not even close to being double anymore. That's kind of the point. So it's kind of contradictory if you look at the last graphic and compare that with this one, because you're like, well, Evan, we still have the surplus of rain, so why are we in drought? Well, it's all about the timing again. It's a 3-week span of nothing but dry weather, and especially if you pile on. They're expecting actually wet weather further in. Into Oklahoma and northern Texas, areas that do actually need it, areas that are under kind of the same regional drought that we are under as well. And for me, it's also kind of a little bit of a good sign, because the issue has been, again, that this has been a regional thing. It hasn't just been us, but it's been regional wide, from northern Texas all the way over to, say, Georgia, have been not having their surplus of rain. I wouldn't say over to Georgia. I'd say more like over to Mississippi. Georgia and Florida have had plenty of rain from Milton and Helene move on through, but especially Helene. But anywhere from, Mississippi towards North Texas, it's been bare bone dry. And for northern Texas to at least have a good chance, all this means is that having a good chance at a surplus of some rain, at least moving through that area and throughout the extended forecast. maybe some of that rain from northern Texas will move over here, especially since it's nearby. That's been the issue, again, so we haven't had rain from northern Texas over to Mississippi at all. Now that we have rain, the potential for rain nearby, maybe beyond the next 6 to 10 days, maybe it'll be our turn. That's what I'm hoping for. And that's what I keep trying to hope for as well, especially just one day. I know I enjoy our sunshine, but need some rain back in here. Honestly do. All right. So let's look at your drought. If you have any questions in particular, let me know. YouTube, that is the outlet to send me a comment, and I will look at it. I'm looking at the comment sheet right now. It has no comments on it right now. But if you have a comment, question, anything you want to talk to me, I will answer those in our last little segment after one more break. I'll be back after this. I'll also preview tomorrow's episode. Hang around, and yeah, I will see you after that. And welcome on back. For those of you who weren't with us yesterday, we had CJ on yesterday, by the way. I'm sorry, I know it's Tuesday, and you're like, well, where's CJ? For those of you who are on usually every Tuesday just to see CJ, I get it. I get it. If you just want to see CJ every single Tuesday. I'm sorry he's not here. He was here yesterday. It's just because the weather schedule is out the door this week. Kind of some unusual things happening, including on my end as well with my scheduling stuff. We'll get to that in just a moment. But essentially, I'm working the noon show here today in just over an hour. So if you want to see me live again, talk about the weather one more time, I will be on there as well. And wrong way. You think I would be good at this since I'm good at a green screen, but it took me so long to point at this. It's 10:54 at the time we're recording this now. Obviously, if you're watching the recording, it won't mean nothing to you. But I'm working the noon show here today in just over an hour. So, yeah, I'll be on there, giving the forecast one more time. And just, you know, I rarely work the noon show. It's mainly because CJ and Austin are off today. I am off later this work week on Thursday and Friday. Actually, my first time off since I've been here. Just going on a vacation, extended amount of time. Not the entire week, obviously, but just taking, you know, something a little more than just a weekend trip, so to speak. I will be back on Monday. I'll also be here for tomorrow's episode too. We'll get into the preview of that in just a second. But one thing I wanted to mention was not only is CJ filling for me on the podcast for Thursday and Friday, for you guys, that'll be cool. I already gave him a rundown of what he needs to do. He's got the controls all down. You guys will be well taken care of. You guys, you give CJ again all the hype for Thursday and Friday, especially if you could wish him luck or tell him he did a good job on Thursday and Friday. I'll probably be watching the stream as well on from my remote location. on Thursday and Friday then, so that'll be intriguing. It'll be intriguing to watch a podcast without me, as I'm not on it anymore. Does that make sense? Maybe that does. Maybe it doesn't. Anyways, so yeah, that's the dealio for the rest of this work week on Thursday and Friday. I've realized, though, he's going to be filling in for me on the morning shows, too. Obviously, the entire shift. But on Thursday morning, he's going to get to talk about those coolest temperatures of the season, coolest temperatures since I've been here. I'm honestly a little jealous. Not going to lie. I'll catch in on some of it on tomorrow morning shows because I'll still be working tomorrow morning, and those will still get down in the 40s. But nothing like what CJ is going for. Oh, man. CJ's going to have a blast typing that up on Thursday morning, all the cooler temperatures around. So props to him. And that's basically the message, is kind of a tier. I wish I could have done that. But, I've scheduled this month in advance. Anyways, let's wrap up the episode. All right, so if you want to send us a topic, today we talked about the drought. If you want us to talk about another topic, you can email it to us, weatherbreakdown@ksla.com. You can also message us on Facebook, message any of us on Facebook, and, yeah, you can get to us that way. You can let us talk about tropics, which we will actually talk about later on this week. We could talk about the drought in any specific location. We could talk about river forecasts. We can talk about anything and everything otherwise. If you want us to explain a weather phenomenon, you're like, hey, Evan, what are these kind of clouds? Or how does a tornado form? Those kind of things. Just let me know via the email or on Facebook as well. Again, we air this every single weekday. 10:30 is the time every single time. Tomorrow's Wednesday. I will be there on that episode for one more day before CJ takes over this podcast, Thursday and Friday. For tomorrow's episode, we're going to be talking about the National Weather Service. Kind of do this every single month, kind of giving an outside perspective into still our local Arklatex weather, getting into a little more of the nitty-gritty of some data and some numbers, things that have happened, and things that we expect to happen here later on into the future. They help us give us like a second look at things, because sometimes you need to get an outside perspective to help confront realize some things or bring out some excellent points. So we'll have a cool weather discussion here with the National Weather Service. Same agency that makes all the watches and mornings. We'll have a discussion with them here tomorrow on this podcast here for First Alert Weather Breakdown. Will be pretty cool. CJ is going to have other topics here later on this work week, including the tropics. I did mention that. That is going to happen here later this week. Again, interesting to see how those two area of interests are going to play out later on this week, and he'll dive into that later on. So that's what we got. That's our episode here today. All right, I still don't see anything on YouTube comment-wise, so nothing to comment on there. I hope you have a great rest of your Tuesday. Again, enjoy the sunshine. Watch out for this afternoon. Drink plenty of water and stay hydrated, especially for today while it's still a little toasty out. Highs in the upper 80s for today, but boy, you're waking up to 40s tomorrow morning and highs only in the upper 60s and lower 70s. Be on the watch out again for that. Tell your neighbors, tell your friends, stay weather aware and stay first alert with us. Again, thank you for watching KSLA News 12 First Alert Weather Breakdown. I'm meteorologist Evan Thomas, and you have a great rest of your day. Cheers to you. You can power through this work week. I believe in you. Sunshine will help you on through, and hopefully this cool down helps you on through as well. I'll see you again tomorrow. Cheers again. Bye.